What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Merge Tactics video. We got a really fun one here today. JCE reached out the other day, and you guys have heard me in my videos. I've been saying that I might be working on a little collab, so surprise, he's here, and we're excited. We just did a video on his channel covering 6 different talking points, so after this one, make sure that you guys head over to his channel and check that out, kind of just talking about balances, new card ideas, and just some fun stuff. Obviously, collabing in this mode is difficult because we don't have friendly battles. So we would love your input as our communities down below for things that you would like to see us do. JC, do you want to say a quick hello? Let people know what's going on with you, man.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? I was super happy to hop on and do this with MOLT. He's a good guy. I know y'all know that, but he's a good guy, fun guy to work with, fun guy to talk to. So I really enjoyed recording the first one, and I'm happy to see what we get to talk about today.
Yeah, man. So, like I said, guys, we've got a couple of talking points, so we're just going to jump into those, and hope you guys enjoy. The first one, you probably would know this a little bit better than me. What's the current meta? Like, how are we feeling? Like, when we think about last season, I talked so much about how annoyed I was at how basic the meta was. It was Clan Avengers or Clan Rangers for the most part, and it just got super stale. But currently, I feel like they've made huge strides when it comes to the meta and things that actually work. There are lots of options to play. For me, I think that it's not one specific thing. Like I said, last season it was Clan Avengers with the Mega Knight. That was the best thing to play. It feels like there's some options now. What would you say is your top maybe two things that people are playing right now in the meta?
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot. I think by having so many other teams, it's making it a lot more enjoyable and engaging because there's stuff you can go for that you never thought of going for. And what's really funny is that the meta seems to change, almost daily as people find out new comps. And, with the recent balance changes, there was Electric that was glitched for a day, and so everybody was playing Electric and weird stuff like that. But I think across the board right now in the new season, if you're going for teams as they are, I think the strongest has still got to be the Juggernauts, and there's a few different versions of that. There's, you can put the fire troops behind it, which did get a few nerfs recently, but I think they're still very strong. You can obviously put, Golden Knight and Goblin behind it. You can throw, now we're seeing a lot of Rangers in there behind it. And the nice thing about Rangers, actually, if you guys didn't know, is that there's a Ranger that shares a trait with every single Juggernaut. So you can play any 2 Rangers you want. And they work really well. You can throw throwers back there. Just overall, Juggernauts are a very, very strong team, obviously, because they do so much. They protect themselves. They protect the units behind them. You can stack the shields with your positioning. They resist all the CC abilities, which are huge in the game right now. Things like the Electric Stun, things like, Prince Charge, things like Goblin Machine Stun, which, of course, is a nightmare. You guys know Goblin Machine is incredibly strong this season. But that's the first one. And I think the second is, honestly, there's a lot of weird comps that are really fun to play, and part of what makes them so good is because they're so available. And so there's one that I really like to play, and it's not the best by far, but you're able to get a lot of 3 stars on it, and it's actually something my friend or a guy in my community told me about, and it's called FEMABA, FEMABA, and it uses Fire, Electric, Mage, Avenger, Brawler, and Ace, and it throws it all together. It's Executioner, Wizard, Baby Dragon, Electro Wizard, P.E.K.K.A, and Electro Giant. And so there's all different kinds of stuff. You get a ton of DPS from the Executioner, the Wizard, and the Baby Dragon. You get all the stuns, both from, the E-Wiz's ability, and then the stuns that come from, the sky. When it goes off, you have the Avenger trait, making P.E.K.K.A do a ton of DPS, and there's just all different kinds of stuff that goes on there. So that's one that I've really been having a lot of fun playing. Try it out if you guys haven't. The cards are pretty available as of right now, at least. But yeah, those are definitely 2 of my top teams.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the Juggernauts, and I love the fact that there is the possibility to defend against CCs. Like, the only thing in the regular game mode that can defend against spells is the monk, you know? And so I think that the fact that they added a defense mechanic into merge is pretty cool, because you can see like, oh, they've got both the wizards, so I need to make sure that I have a Juggernaut in front of this thing, or whatever it may be. And so I think that, yeah, Juggernauts is up there. I like the Juggernauts Assassins. It's really, really fun to do. And again, like you said, depending on which assassin you choose, there's lots of different options of which assassin you want. Golden Knight is obviously probably the best once you get it leveled up, especially if you have the machine in there doing some good damage in the back line. And then for me, I really like the throwers as well. And yes, guys, we are sticking to throwers. We're not saying blasters, because some of the things still throw. Okay.
Agreed, 100%.
But I really like doing throwers and assassins too. Especially the Executioner feels crazy good this season. Like, for some reason, even as a 1-star, sometimes I'm like, how is it doing that much damage? Is there something wrong? Yeah. And so, and also with the new layout, you don't have to think as much when it comes to your positioning for the Executioner. Like, before, you had to visually flip it in your head, and then you had to figure out what angle it was. Now it's just like, okay, that tile goes on that line, cool. So like, you can think about other things. You don't have to put too much focus on the Executioner like you used to. Now you can throw it down and be like, okay, there's that line, that thing's probably gonna move this direction, cool. And then you can move on to cycling, building elixir, all that kind of stuff. So for me, yeah, Juggernauts is up there, and then I really like using the throwers in there as well. But just like the one that you mentioned, it's cool that you can have 4 or 5 different synergies and cycle through them and change it up depending on what your opponent has. Like, okay, it looks like they just got mage. Cool, I'm going to get Juggernaut. Okay, they got rid of their mage, and so now I'm going to switch that out or whatever. So I think that's a really, really cool thing about all of the new traits that they have. It just creates a lot of fun opportunities for people to be creative and stuff. Now, obviously, with the introduction of all of the new traits this season, we also have the introduction of a new ruler and some changes to one of the other rulers. So which ruler do you think is best? Do you still think that it's the Spirit Empress, or
that's a question? That is the question. Yeah. First of all, let's get it out of the way that even though they brought a bit of a buff to King, he's just not it, guys. He's just not it. He doesn't have that special sauce that you get from either Spirit Empress or from Goblin Queen. So if you're a free-to-play player just now playing this season, I gotta recommend you play Goblin Queen. She's good. She's very viable. Top players are playing her, but top players are also playing Spirit Empress. The biggest thing I gotta say about it is, how do you like to play the game? And I think that's something that's really changed this season, is that you can get high ranked, and you can get to Diamond without being crazy good at the game, without cycling a ton, without knowing a ton about the comp. Throw Goblin Queen in there. Go for as many goblins as you possibly can. Throw a few other cards that make a good synergy. Maybe a musketeer and a knight. Maybe you get a princess and a knight. Maybe you get an archer and a Valkyrie. Get those ranger synergies going, especially now because Dark Goblin's so strong. But it's a different way to play the game. It's more relaxed. It's laid back. It's, let the Goblin Queen do the work for you. Now, the biggest thing that I have to say about that, even though she's so strong, she is so dependent upon how many other Goblin Queens are in the game, as well as are you going to get the goblins from getting your kills? And that's what's hard. You introduce that little factor of RNG in there, and it's not consistent 100% of the time. It can still be very consistent, but if you're going against 3 other Goblin Queens, or even 2, even 1, I mean, everybody's kind of thinking the same way. You got to get your goblins early. You got to get them built up, because the meat and potatoes of Goblin Queen is that you get a 3-4 star on almost everything, especially the Goblin Machine or the Dark Goblin, and you can kind of take over a game from that point. So if everybody's going for the same stuff, it definitely makes it harder. And so then it's kind of up to, do you get there first? Now, if you're playing as the only Goblin Queen in a game full of Spirit Empresses, or sometimes a king will slip up there, somebody found something that kind of works with them and they think they're doing well. You can kind of run with it, and your chances are pretty high there. With Spirit Empress, it's a lot more involved. It's a lot more of being aware. Obviously you got to be aware of what comps other people are running, so you know what you can even go for. With Goblin Queen, it's pretty much go for goblins across the board.
Yeah.
Which is I can't believe I'm saying this. Go for 4 goblins as much as you can.
Yeah.
It's definitely different. But with Spirit Empress, get those 2 goblins earlier if you can. Get those cheap cards if you can't. Get those 2 elixirs. Start the merges flowing, and then you just gotta cycle like a madman. You can see what your opponents have, and that helps a lot. But then there's skills like pivoting, and you gotta be really focused on your blocking when you get into the late game. So it's definitely a more involved game with Spirit Empress. But the nice thing about her is that it doesn't matter who you're playing against. It's more on you to take the game into your own hands and try to do the best you can to win it. And so I got to say that I've played with a lot. I played a lot with both in Diamond, probably split and even them out. And I think I got to say that I'm enjoying Spirit Empress more right now. And I think she's a bit more my speed. But if you don't have her unlocked, or you just don't agree with me, I can completely see that side. I mean, Goblin Queen is a whole different strategy. Now, make sure if you're playing heavy on one that you kind of change your mindset before you switch to the other, because it's definitely a mindset shift. But that's my 2 cents. Sure. I think it's definitely a Goblin Queen frenzy right now, because everybody's trying her out, especially with the new balance changes. But yeah, Spirit Empress still has my heart. I think she's kind of the one to play if you're really involved in the game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. No, for sure. And I totally agree with the whole, like, what is your play style? Because Spirit Empress is very involved. You constantly need to be checking what other people are going for. Like you said, blocking later on in the game. And earlier on, selling and trying to find what people are doing. And, like, being prepared and knowing enough about what's going on to pivot on those early ones. So, like, you have one synergy at first, you sell your 2 stars, and then you have another synergy, and then, like, by round 3 or 4, trying to figure out, okay, what am I actually going to try and work for? So it's way more involved than the Queen. We talked a little bit about RNG over on the video that we did on your channel. And one of the things lately, like, if you're using the Spirit Empress and you don't get merges until round 4, you feel like you're dead in the water, because the whole point of her is to get merges and then sell and start that snowball going of elixir. And when you take too much damage early on, you don't have enough time to recover from it. And so there can be those games where you're playing Spirit Empress, like I was earlier today, and I was just like, this is just not working for me. And obviously you can still run into that with the Goblin Queen if you don't, if you take out 3 units and you don't get a goblin from it. It can be like, well, what's the purpose of me using this? I'm not getting anything from it. But I definitely agree with you. The best ruler is still the Spirit Empress, especially if you're kind of dialed in and you're like, I'm going to sit down and play 5 games and be like wicked focused. If you are doing something else, then I'd probably grab the Goblin Queen and just, you can be more casual with the Goblin Queen while still being competitive and strategic with what you choose. But it's just like, what are you doing in that moment? Do you want to sit down and grind? If you do, it's probably Spirit Empress. If you want to be a little more casual, not think as much, maybe you had a busy day at work and your brain is just tired, then go for Goblin Queen. And you can still, obviously, still need strategy, still need to know about blocking and all that kind of stuff. But it kind of makes it a little bit smooth. And then you're a little more accepting of getting second place and whatnot. It's like, okay, cool. I did what I needed. I climbed a little bit. Awesome. I'm not trying to sweat too much.
100%.
So yeah, it's been fun to see the Goblin Queen added to the game. Obviously, we've also seen new modifiers added to the game. And so I think we should chat a little bit about our favorite modifiers to play. I think my favorite one is Chaos. I think it's hilarious. Man, and if you get a 4-star Golden Knight, it's just like, all right, I win. Like, literally game over.
Yes.
4-star Golden Knight and a 1-star Goblin. Like, I'm good. No problem. It's so much fun. That's easily my favorite modifier in the game so far. And it feels weird because it seems like it shouldn't be a part of a competitive, like, ladder if you're pushing, because it's so random. But it's just so hilariously fun. Like, I don't even care if I lose in it. I saw one guy with, like, 3 Golden Knights, and I was like, yeah, that was awesome to watch. Cool.
Yep. Yeah, I've got to agree completely. I was playing a game earlier today on it where I got a 4-star Queen, a 4-star Golden Knight, and a 4-star Skeleton King in the same game. And it's just like, that shouldn't be happening. But at the same time, it's so much fun. Like you said, I don't care. And it's actually interesting. So I've actually kind of tried to read into how the actual mechanics of it work. But I don't know if you've noticed this, but as soon as you get later in the game, 4 stars are almost completely out of the pool. I don't know if you've noticed that. But my theory is that, you know, when the cards merge, and obviously when you buy a card, it takes the card out of the pool. But my theory with this is that when you merge, say, 2 witches together, it changes into a Skeleton King, and you already had another 2-star Skeleton King out there, and now you have whatever, a 3-star Golden Knight. I do believe that it actually still pulls the witches from the pool. So it's really interesting in the fact that it keeps those cards out of there, because 4 stars are huge in that game. That's what you're trying to go for. But it definitely keeps those cards out of the pool when you merge them into the 5 cost, and you know, and it's just definitely something to think about. So, while I agree with you that there's definitely so much randomness in there, there is some strategy that I found. Obviously, you need to get merges as soon as possible. You need to sell your early merges, but you need to be buying up 4 stars as soon as you can. Everybody else is especially if they're playing Goblin Queen, is going to be behind if you get an early merge, and so you just need to sweep them out of the pool. That's how I was able to get 3 4 stars, one of each champion, and I have a screenshot of all 3 of them going up against like 5 1-star cards and a 2-star card, and it was hilarious. And that's just, you know, you gotta know how to play into the modifier a bit. But yeah, that's definitely gotta be my favorite. I'm also really enjoying what was it? It's the one where the cards, and this is probably going to be controversial because there's some times where it drives me crazy, but Master Arena is really interesting. I hated it at the beginning of the season, but I've learned what comps to play in it, and if you're really smart about what you buy and what you keep, it can be very you know, strategic in the way you play it, because okay, well, I got a knight here, I have other cards that I can cycle, but I'm going to go ahead and put this knight in this spot, and I'm going to go for Juggernauts, and then I'll fill in the other 2 slots as I see fit. But that knight I know is going to have a ton of HP, so it's kind of going to bail me out while I cycle for other stuff. So definitely adds another layer of complexity. But that's one I've been having fun playing as well.
Yeah, that one's fun. It's difficult with the Spirit Empress because you have to move them. Like, you're trying to sell them, so it can,
definitely.
Like, you have to be thinking ahead, and then you also have to be saying your opponent, being like, can I beat this person? Yes, I'm going to go ahead and move some units now, preparing for the fact that I'm going to face somebody who might be stronger in my next match after this. And if you're going up against somebody who's already knocked, then it's like, all right, now is my chance to reorganize everything and be a little bit more focused on it. That one actually has been pretty fun as well. I like that one. Do you have any that you would like to add? I'll share mine first. I actually have 2 modifiers that I think would be pretty cool for them to add. One of them is a bigger bench and a smaller field. So you take out the back line, and that now becomes a bench. So you can hold a lot more, which also means you can cycle a lot more. Like, sometimes it's really frustrating when your entire bench is full of 1-star units that you're trying to turn into 3 stars. Because I've had that before, where everything on my bench I need and I want. And so I think it could be interesting if maybe they increased the pool a little bit and took away some of the battlefield, but made a massive bench. So you could just, like, do crazy stuff. I feel like it would be insane to have 12 slot bench that you could just fill up and
block everything,
block everybody. But also, if it's a bigger pool, you're not sure if the blocking is working. So that's one of mine. Do you want to share one of yours? And then I've got another one as well.
This is one that would definitely be, you know, kind of out there, and I don't even really know how the development on it would work, but I think it'd be sick to have portals where if they step on a tile, it can actually transport them to the matching color tile in the back of your opponent's line or something. And that was actually something that was spawned in my brain, you know, weeks ago when we originally saw the leaks. There were different color hexes in that file that was leaked. And I thought, okay, maybe there's going to be specific hexes that have a modifier tied to it. And my other one actually has to do with that same concept. But the first one is, you know, are there, you know, 2 blue hexes on the field? One's on your side, one's on the matching spot on their side. And your units could maybe even accidentally, whether it's just in their path of motion or on purpose, they read, and that's where you get kind of hard to code, but they read that, okay, well, if I go through this, I can be directly on his princess, and I can knock out his princess, and have like 2 or 3 of those on the battlefield. I think it would add, you know, a whole different strategy to that mode, because then everybody's kind of an assassin in a way, but then, maybe accidentally your Dark Goblin finds its way into your opponent's back line and he's toast. So it's definitely something that would kind of switch it up a bit. And again, kind of like Chaos, but just make it, a bit unexpected and not know exactly what's going to happen. But in a way, you still kind of find a way to play around it.
Yeah. That sounds pretty cool. That'd be fun. Another one I think would be cool, it would be like darkness or fog, to where their entire side is blocked until you play. So it's like no spectating. Like the other, it's blocked. You can't see it. And so you have to try and remember what people did, but also like depending on where you put things, like you're not sure what's going to happen. And so it's just like the whole fog of war idea where, okay, I'm building this up here. I have no idea where my opponent's placement is or anything like that. And then right when it starts, like the fog lifts and then the fighting starts. I think that could be pretty fun. I think Juggernauts would just destroy that mode, honestly. 100%. Like whoever goes for Juggernauts is just going to dominate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think there could be some fun little mechanics to either that or like, if you think about like the fog in Fortnite that like slowly moves in.
Of course,
like maybe after each round it moves in one tile. You can't see the back line now. Now you can't see the last 2 lines. Now you can't see the last 3 rows. Something like that, to where there's some things that are hidden that allows you to, I don't know, be a little more sneaky and make things a little more fun. I think that could be cool.
Yeah, I agree. And funnily enough, there was somebody who actually challenged me to play a whole game without spectating the opponent the entire time. And there's a bit of that in there. I'm like, man, that would be difficult. So having a modifier where that's forced would be interesting. My second one, like I said, also has to deal with tiles. But I was thinking about, power-ups in a way. So you got a troop who walks onto a tile. Well, he's invisible for the next 3 seconds. You have one who walks onto a tile. Well, his HP is doubled for the next 5 seconds. Another one walks onto a tile. His damage is doubled for the next 3 seconds. Stuff like that. And there's even other stuff you could do in there. He walks onto a tile. You get a 1-star copy of the card. Maybe they even add in specific tiles that are like blocked, like they're like walls or something. And there's just a lot more they could do with the board itself. Because yes, it's auto chess.
Oh yeah.
But if you mirror it exactly from one side to the other, you still have that kind of balanced aspect of it, and it would allow you to play into some different variables that you might not think of. So maybe, well, this time I am going to put a 3-star Dark Goblin on the front line because he's going to walk into the invisible tile or the damage tile. And it just kind of mixes things up, because I feel like it's so ingrained into our heads that it's like, okay, frontline troops go here, backline troops go here every single time, and that's exactly what it is. Nowadays anti-assassin's placement is kind of just the standard placement for a lot of comps, which is funny. We're not doing the 3 spread out at the bottom and some at the top anymore, because everything's a 4 out of 4 or a 2 out of 2. But something like that would force us to have different placements, because I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I feel like placement was a much bigger thing last season, like you said, especially with the executioner. You got to flip stuff in your head, and that was definitely more difficult. But placement as a whole was more interesting, and now I feel like it's kind of standard. So both of those that I have, and I think even yours would kind of play into that as well, especially with the smaller field, and obviously with the fog. Placement, making that more of a strategy rather than a given, would allow you to outplay players a lot more, I think.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. Now on your video, we talked a good bit about what we thought they could do to monetize things in the game, because we're all aware Supercell is a business. They have probably 1,000 employees, if I had to guess. Wow. At least 500, I would guess. Like, it's something crazy, because I know they have different locations in like San Francisco and other places. So they got to make money. And our goal is, like, a lot of people will spend money, and we talked about different ways that we thought they could do that. But for those of you who don't know, the Merge Tactics has its own small team of people. Like, Draft Mode doesn't have a different team. It's just a part of it. Like, Merge is some people from Clash Mini working on this, trying to grow it, and they're trying to decide whether or not it's going to stick around in the game. So our hope is that they figure it out and it does stick around, because we all love it so much. And so, like, the idea is, what do we think they can do to expand the mode's reach? And again, you guys can head over to JC's video on that to see a lot more in that. But one of the biggest things that I said in that was that there needs to be more collaboration between the main game of Clash Royale and with Merge Tactics. Everybody loves rewards, so let's make there be a Merge Tactics emote that comes out when you hit Diamond, and you only get it if you hit Diamond in Merge Tactics, and all that kind of stuff. So you bring the player base here who's like, wait, where did that emote come from that guy's spamming at me? Oh, it's from Merge Tactics. Now I have to go and play that. And so I think there just needs to be a better crossover between, like, Clash Royale is such an iconic game. It's doing so good right now, and they need to be pushing more traffic to Merge Tactics. Now, from a marketing standpoint, I think that they should reach out to people who are playing TFT or other auto chesses and things like that, and give them access to an account and have them stream it, and play it and be like, what do you guys think about this? And try and get the reach out there, so that we can get more players interested in it. Is there anything you want to add to that? Like, what do you think they can do to make people more interested?
Yeah, and honestly, the last thing you said there about, kind of spreading out to other auto chess type of games and making people realize, hey, there's other options out there. A really funny story. Before Merge Tactics came out, I was pretty big into Marvel Rivals when that first dropped, and then I stopped playing for a bit. I came back when Ultron was released, but with that, there was a special mode that was an auto chess mode, and it was almost exactly, very similar, like the same field size, and that was the first auto chess I had ever played. Had no idea what I was doing, but I played that mode, and I liked it so much. And then, a few weeks later, here's Merge Tactics, now in Clash Royale, and I was like, what is this? It's so much like that Ultron mode in Marvel Rivals. I gotta play this, and I fell in love with it. And I had never played an auto battler before that Marvel Rivals game. And so there are so many people out there, like we talked a bit on mine, there's so many people even in Clash Royale who haven't even tried out Merge Tactics just because they don't think it interests them. And so getting more people on the mode is going to help in so many ways. Obviously, it's going to, increase the player base, which is going to make matchmaking easier. It's going to just grow the community, obviously bring them new revenue streams, because obviously they're not paying any extra, or they're not putting any extra work. If all the people are already on the game mode, the standard game mode, reach out to people like TFT, do different things to, like you said, the emote is a big one, bring people from Clash Royale to Merge Tactics, give them progression rewards. Like I said on my channel, let the rewards that you get from climbing the ladder scale with your account size. Like, at an almost maxed account, and I'm sure you have a few maxed accounts or one that you play on specifically, but a goblin machine doesn't mean anything to me. It's elite wildcards. But 10 goblin machines for reaching 2,800 trophies, well, that's something I would play for, especially, if I had just reached level 50 and I'm like, okay, I want to start playing Goblin Giant Pekka. Let me go ahead and get these goblin machines. Or, you're a new player, you still want to play to get a few legendaries that you don't have. So increase the rewards there, but vice versa. I know this is very, very controversial, and a lot of people would not like this. But there's a part of me that's like, well, let's let our normal, and maybe this is flawed thinking, because ultimately the goal is to bring people from Clash Royale to Merge Tactics, but the card levels only affect it 2%. Which isn't a lot. And so for people who don't have high level cards in normal Clash Royale, they're playing Merge with under-leveled cards. So again, just give them more of that reason to... I don't think they need to change the 2%. I'll take my thoughts back on that. But I definitely think there could be a lot more to level up their cards from Merge, because maybe they really enjoy it, but they also feel like they're stuck in progression on Clash Royale. Their cards are really under-leveled. They can't win anymore. Let me go over to Merge. Here I can play Merge, get crowns, get new cars to level up the stuff I want. Maybe they've never played it before and they're doing it for progression purposes. Wow, I actually really like this mode. I'm going to keep playing it even after I've gotten what I came for. I'm going to keep pushing past Diamond because I enjoy it so much. And I think as part of that, I feel like Diamond is a hard accomplishment. I think out of the, I don't know, you might have to correct my numbers, either you if you know or somebody else in the comments, but 20 million who played Merge Tactics and only 240,000 made it to Diamond last season, if I believe. So that's a pretty small percentage. Now, of course, there's several people. I think it was like out of the 20 million.
Tried it and didn't.
Yeah, out of the 20 million, I think only 10 million played more than like 5 games or something. So it's definitely a smaller sample size for that. But definitely give them a reason for people who tried it out and maybe they had horrible RNG in their first game and they're like, not for me. But give them a reason to play, let them progress. I think that's just a huge thing. And then reaching out to other communities. There's a huge base for TFT out there. Bring some of those people over. Let them try out something new, different. I mean, you said on my channel, the mobile gaming sphere is so odd right now because ultimately social media is so easily accessible on our phones that as soon as we get bored with one thing, we're either going to social media or we're going to another mobile game. And so let Clash Royale play into that. Let merge tactics be another option for TFT players and stuff like that. So just a few things I think could happen.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue too into like the future of the game, the future of the mode. It's such a good mode that it feels like it's its own game.
Yeah, right.
Like, how do we feel about the lifespan of it? How does it look? I mean, for me, like, I think that this season is such a huge step in the right direction, and we kind of touched on this too earlier with RNG stuff. Like, I think that's the biggest thing that needs to be fixed or kind of tweaked, because RNG can be such a bummer. Like, randomness is good, and skillful people know how to respond to randomness, but when randomness is just not on your side, it can be so unfun. Like, if you think about flipping a quarter, every single time you do it, there's a 50% chance to get head or tails. You could do it 100 times, and you could get heads every single time. Like, that is a possibility.
It's a possibility.
And sometimes you go into games and you're like, how is it round 4 or 5 and I haven't gotten a single merge yet? And it can be incredibly frustrating. I think that's the only thing that I can think about from a casual player base that can hold people back, and that can maybe not, or would maybe make merge not live up to the standards that Supercell holds for their things, like a very high standard. But otherwise, I feel super excited. I feel like we're in a really promising place, especially after this season. And I think after next season, we'll kind of know a little bit better, like, okay, this is sticking around. But for me, it's like RNG, I think, is the biggest thing. Is there anything that stands out to you that you think would affect the lifespan potentially?
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on RNG, especially because, what doors does that open if that's something that they can tame back a bit? Is there a chance for there to be a competitive scene? Are there going to be clans, there already are kind of, but some clans that are focused around merge points, does merge tactics, get a taste of the CRL scene in its own fashion, if they're able to level the playing field. Like, take it back to the very beginning of this season. I played Spirit Empress all last season, and I was really good at cycling and being quick with it and just being able to get everybody else. When the season first dropped and Spirit Empress had that +3, I was at or near like the very top of the leaderboard for those first few days. And then when it got changed, I took a few days off. I'm not playing super consistently. I'm gonna push up as high as I can eventually, especially before season end. But it felt like there was so much more skill involved with that +3 elixir to Empress. And obviously now we know that Queen, we talked about this on beginning of this channel, that Queen and Empress are kind of so even right now. That you can kind of play either. So if they buff Empress, I know there's something that was talked a lot about with buffing Empress to 3 and buffing the others to +2, something like that. But just add a bit more skill across the board, and that would open up so much more to the game mode. Because say you take a competitive player who played merge and they're like, okay, completely RNG based game mode, I'm never playing this. But if it was skill, is this something else that they can and just enjoy playing and enjoy playing to the top of the leaderboard? That would bring in a lot more competitive players, maybe bring in more content creators, even existing content creators who will now make content about merge, which will push it even more. But I think, the biggest thing when I'm looking at the future of the mode is, they didn't promise any updates. They didn't promise any resets. When they first dropped it, they were like, here you go. Let us know what you think. And that first update was long awaited, and it was a long time coming for sure. But I feel like the fact that they brought that out, and the fact that they already have a lot of plans for November, means that they're seeing a lot of potential. If it was very unprofitable and their devs were putting in way too many hours and they just weren't seeing enough of a player base there, I just think they wouldn't have dove into it as hard as they did for this new season. And the fact that we've already seen the initial balance changes, and then I think 2 or 3 additional, and it's the 16th of the month. That means that they're paying attention. They're listening to what we think. And like we talked about on my channel, I really believe that this round that they just brought out a few days ago were all huge for the game. Very beneficial, stuff that was needed. They're listening, they're paying attention, they're trying to keep, the players that are in the game engaged, and then also trying to keep it balanced so new players don't get so frustrated. And so I think seeing that attention from them means that it could definitely be a possibility. Like I said, I don't know if it needs to go to its other app. If I never did play Clash Many. I believe that went to its own app, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that may have been a part that didn't work out too well for it in the end, obviously. But there's just enough support, and obviously we as creators and everybody watching as players, we got to let them know that we do enjoy it, and it's been helpful to see all the support on my channel and on your second channel, just seeing how many people out there really love the game mode, how many people want to see tips, but also really cool stuff that happens, all these 4-stars, and Goblin Queen's really cool, and a lot of just interest in the cool factor of the game. I think there's a lot more cool factor in this game than there is in normal Clash Royale. Here I got a 4-star, witch. I've never seen that before. There's 500 skeletons on the field. And you just don't get that kind of taste for the more casual player in Clash Royale. So I think there's definitely a different player base. I play both a lot, probably pretty balanced. But there's definitely a whole player base that's come over from Clash Royale, and some that a lot of my community say, hey, I haven't played Clash Royale in weeks, but I play Merge every day. So there's a future there, definitely. And there's a huge amount of interested people. And I'm seeing that on my channel and definitely in the game as well.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, last thing we're going to end on, because these types of things are fun. I've always enjoyed doing this with Clash Royale as well. What is a unit that you would like to see added from the main version of Clash Royale into Clash Mini? Over on your video, I said that I wanted to see Battle Ram, which would be a clan assassin, which is pretty cool. You guys got to go over there and watch that. And JCE said that he wanted to see the elite barbarians that were clan and noble, right? Or were they brawler noble?
No, they were clan and noble. No, you're right. Yep.
Clan and noble. For this one, I want to see the ice wizard brought in, and I think it would fit inside of the mage synergy because it would be a mage. And it would have an ability where it would turn something into an ice block that would have to like thaw out. And maybe, I don't know if it would be too strong, but if around the tiles around the ice block were slippery or something, so like units couldn't move on it. Maybe it was like a slow effect or something like that. But I think the ice block would be pretty cool to where whatever its target is, when that goes off, it ice blocks it for, I don't know, a half of a second at 1 star, a second at 2, and then like something more as it goes up. But I think that visually that'd be pretty cool to hear the like crackling of the ice and then it thawing out. And I think that'd be pretty rad.
I think it's awesome. Great idea. And there's obviously a lot of other ice cards they could bring in. Mine is the Lumberjack. I think that the Lumberjack as a brawler and as an Avenger would fit really well, which, we talked on my video about how those two synergies are kind of counterintuitive, but I think with a Lumberjack it works because you want him to, kind of lead the charge and take a lot of damage, but then when he dies, of course, you're benefiting your other Avengers because they're closer to getting their bonus damage. But then let him drop the Rage spell and see what the Rage spell does. Maybe it's a 2 or 3 hex radius, but I don't know if it needs to damage the troops like it does in normal Clash, but allow your troops in there to have faster hit speed and damage amplification, both of which mechanics are already in the game. And let it last for 2 seconds or whatever, but it just would affect your positioning a lot more. It'd be really cool to see, a Lumberjack charge in, he dies, there's the Rage. Now all your Goblin Machine is shooting twice as fast, and it's just a mess. Oh my gosh. Definitely a card they'd have to tune and make sure is balanced, but that's mine. I think it'd be really fun, but I really like the Ice Wizard. That's definitely something that would fit in well and then open up the door for the Ice trait. With Ice Spirit
so much
and
potential.
Ice Golem. So much potential for the game mode. That's the biggest thing that I felt after both of these discussions now. There's so much potential. We know it. Supercell knows it. Obviously, the viewers and the players, you guys know it as well. You let us know that. So that, I'm just excited about it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother. Y'all, this was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed conversations with JC. Again, go check out his channel. I'll put that in the description. Let us know what other types of collabs y'all would like to see, because obviously we can't do friendly battles or anything like that inside of Merge. But we've kind of chatted behind the scenes, talks about covering balance changes together, things like that. So you'll definitely see more videos from us in the future. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out.